right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the What's Next podcast. I'm your host, Levi Casada. Again, in the studio, I have my boy, Nathan Wood with New Venture Escrow. Say what's up, Nate.
What's happening, everyone?
All right, let's give you a little applause there. Woo, Nate. Nate's in the house. There you go.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate
All
it.
the way from North County. Thanks again for coming down.
Always fun.
So this podcast, as you know, we sit down with local real estate agents all of Southern California and just get to know their journey into this crazy industry, right?
Yeah.
It's who wants to be a real estate agent out there? So we're going to find out what the passion is behind that and what they're doing today and what's next. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest today. Do you want to introduce him? You want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So super excited. Again, we've already been talking. I don't know if we can record some of the stuff we talked about, but
Yeah. Some stuff has to stay up.
no, this is going to be fun. So this is the owner of Move In San Diego, the local choice for real estate. Please welcome Ryan Judson. What's up, buddy? I'll give you a little cheers too. Yeah. I'll give you a couple there.
Why was his louder?
His was louder? Oh no, we can.
There you go.
There you go.
Now I'm a little jealous.
Turn it down a little bit there. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah. First podcast?
Sorta.
Sort of?
I did something similar, but it wasn't really a podcast. It was like an interview.
Interview? Well, we're not here to
More,
interview.
more structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Oh.
is more just free flowing.
Yeah, this is just chill.
Yeah, I like it.
This is get to know you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Thanks again. You're all the way in North County as well, right?
I am. Yeah.
Well, let's hear a little bit about your background. So you're a third generation native.
Third gen. Yeah. My great grandpa came off the boat from Denmark.
Really?
Yeah. He lived down in Mission Hills. He was a nurser. Nurser?
Nurser?
I don't know. Nursery? Nurser?
Like
Plant guy?
botanist sort of thing? Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, botanist.
He brought some of the first plants to Quail Gardens in Encinitas.
No way.
Oh, okay.
And then his cousin was Walter Anderson, actually, which everyone's heard of.
Yeah.
Which I guess I'm somehow related to him, but I never really understood.
Well, if you haven't heard of him, who is he?
He's like a famous, Walter Anderson nursery. If anyone's heard of
Gotcha.
that.
Apparently,
I'm
not
from Arizona.
everyone knows.
Yeah,
He doesn't know.
I'm from Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were telling the truth there.
Yeah.
No, so he came off the boat. He lived, I think La Jolla originally, and then Mission Hills area.
How long ago were we talking?
I don't even know.
Back when
18 something. He lived to 103. I actually remember him still because I was, I think 8 or 9 when he passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he died peacefully in his sleep, but he gardened and did his thing up until
This is your grandfather?
great grandpa.
Great grandpa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's some other part of the family too. I don't know. I think they were in Chicago and they moved to San Diego, and now everyone's been here for 2-3 generations. I mean, if dating all the way back.
Yeah. Well, you didn't get into botany then?
I didn't. I have a cousin that kind of took that path.
Okay.
Not me. I kill everything that I grow.
Not a green thumb?
I actually just had 2 palm trees in my backyard completely topple over because I guess you need to support them. They're growing at an angle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I dug one out and replanted and tied it off, and I feel like I'm making some headway there. But
right.
For the most part, we just buy plants and they die, and I buy new ones.
I found that palm trees like to be watered. Their roots want to reach the water. With the last name of Wood, I have to learn these things. I have to be a green thumb.
I got like a hillside on part of my backyard, and they're growing at an angle, so they're like the cool curved ones.
Oh, cool.
But I think with how much rain we've had, it pulled the roots out, and so like literally it was on the ground. I'm like, no.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, because don't palm trees grow pretty deep? Don't their roots grow deep?
There's so many different kinds.
Yeah.
When I bought my house, the owner of the San Diego Sockers owned it as like a second home, and he had soccer players in there. But apparently his brother was in the palm tree business, so there's like 50 palm trees. It's rad. It's tropical, and it's in like a little HOA cookie cutter neighborhood. But I got like the one house that went nuts with that. So when I bought it, I was like, there's probably like 10 grand, 15 grand worth of palm trees back here.
Yeah.
I've killed half of them since then, but
Oh God.
but it's still
some activists are coming after you.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. My neighbor has 72 palm trees, and
In his yard?
In his yard. And they're all full-grown, mature queens and king palms. And he's out, like, trimming them himself. You can't hire a tree company to come and trim that.
I
like,
did for a while, and I was like, I need to save money. I got a ladder and a full like electric chainsaw, but
right.
every couple of weeks I get out there and hack a few off, and it kind of maintains it.
Yeah, and then if you have like Mexican palms, they seed, and their seeds fall into my. Yeah. Basically, most of my grass in my backyard is little palm tree sprouts.
Yeah, 100%. I got that too. Yeah, they're like date palms too.
Yeah.
My dog was eating them at one time, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I tried one. I'm like, oh, it's sweet, and then. Yeah, I don't know if you're really supposed to.
Probably not. You got
now, is that a San Diego, like, is that a North Cal problem? Like, you get more palm trees that way than more south here in, like, Mission?
I don't know if palm trees are native to San Diego, because San Diego's kind of...
I got no clue, but they do very well here because they don't need much water once they get established, and they're, I don't know, they're all over the place.
Yeah. So coming from Arizona, a lot of cactus, no, like, barely any palm trees. I'm probably saying this because the palm trees that we do have root low because obviously we don't get that much rain out in the desert. But my experience of birds of paradise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're gorgeous, especially being from somewhere from the desert.
For like a small minute they are, and then they get dead and ugly and
100%. And if you have ever tried to tear one out, it's nearly impossible. Their roots are like fingers, and they go endlessly.
Oh yeah.
So you have no idea where they go to. Yeah. I've ripped out quite a few.
I used to have a mohawk when I was like in college days living down in PB, and I have a really pointy nose. And so my roommates, I used to live with 6 girls actually. They used to tell me I looked like a bird of paradise because I was like the beak and the mohawk.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the 6. No, we'll get there. So upbringing, you're here. You're native. Are you from? Like this part, like more. I don't know how to because you say North County, right?
Yeah.
What is this? Just San Diego? Like
this is
south?
This is city of San Diego.
City of San Diego.
Anything south of Del Mar Terrace, essentially a part of Del Mar, is considered city, and then there's actual like downtown city.
Yeah.
But this is like city limits, so everyone just refers like if you see the zip code, it's like San Diego, like a zip code, but it's really like Mission Valley or. Specific.
Right.
And for the longest time, I feel like North County was considered like coastal rural area.
Right.
Especially Leucadia and Carlsbad and even parts of Oceanside.
Yeah.
Because, it was like the sleepy town.
There was more space up there. There wasn't like as much jobs and stuff. So the few people that lived up there would commute down here. But now it's like pretty established. And
So you've always been from North County?
Yeah. Encinitas area.
Okay.
My dad was actually a developer. And he built a number of projects kind of all over. He actually built the Qualcomm Center. It was an old San Diego Design Center. And
not the one that they just tore down.
Yeah, not the stadium, right?
No, not the stadium. Yeah, the building where Qualcomm is at.
Yeah.
Because that was one of his few commercial projects, but he's done a number of home communities.
Yeah, that's cool.
So our first house that I grew up in was in Pacific Ranch up in Encinitas. And then, we moved to Cardiff when I was like, just before junior high.
Okay.
And then that's when I started surfing a bunch and walking down.
I was going to say, you're an avid surfer.
I am, kind of.
What do you mean, kind of? I just watched some video. I just watched some video. And some of the video I watched, like, go watch them on Instagram, and it's, you're good. You're not just, like, going out there and just, like, cruising. You're doing, like,
I used to do the competitions and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, but there's so many better surfers than me, so it's, like, it's hard to say. I mean, there's a lot worse than me, too, but there's... Like I would never have had a chance.
But you can carry your own.
Going professionally.
Right?
Oh, it's a fun hobby, yeah.
When did that all start?
That was junior high. I didn't start surfing until junior high. I used to boogie board, bodyboard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Boogie's fine.
I still call it boogie.
Boogie, body. Wait, but with a board.
Levi is a boogie boarder.
I'm definitely a boogie boarder. Not even a boogie board. I body surf.
There's another another term
That's cool,
for it.
I like the body surfing.
Yeah.
We can't say it on the podcast.
Yeah, you can't say it, but you could.
No.
Okay, not for
You'd have to bleep all of it out.
Okay.
Speed bump? Or is it worse? The worst one?
Dragger.
Oh, is that yeah. That's so funny. So
there's some good. it's funny because I grew up surfing seaside up in San Diego, and it used to be all bodyboarders, and I was like one of the few. Yeah. There was a number of surfers too, but there was like we all respected each other, and there was a good crew like Paul Roach and all these guys. And now there's zero. Like you cannot find a bodyboarder anywhere in North County. They all surf now, which is kind of funny because I told them all along that they should be surfing. They finally got the memo.
Yeah,
10 years later.
See, I was always split between Encinitas and like surfing Cardiff and Traps and that whole spot. And then my other uncle lived on the Strand and Oceanside, which had a really cool like shore break barreling wave. And so I always felt like there was a place for bodyboarding or boogie boarding. Because it's so fun just like jumping in on a boogie board and getting shacked or barreled in a shore break and just getting smashed.
No, it's fun. It's funny. It's like one of those things that like surfers like to joke about hating on, but we all like each other.
You look like you used to drop knee a lot. Did you drop knee?
Didn't. I bodyboarded, and then as soon as I started, like I was in Hawaii on vacation with my family, and some local Hawaiian guy was like, hey, you can put your knee up and do this. And I was like, cool. And I did it, I think, for 2 waves. And I was like, wait, I can get my other knee up. And now I'm surfing. And then I came back and got a board. And my sister actually taught me how to surf. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And
but you've always been around the water. Because, like, again, coming from a different spot. And there's a lot of people that move here from different areas that want to learn how to surf.
Yeah.
I didn't respect water.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't respect fire until you get burned as, like, a little kid or, like, the stove. But once you get rolled for the first time or washed or whatever you guys call it, then you're like, that felt terrible.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
No, I was pretty comfortable with it. I have 2 daughters right now, and one of them I taught how to surf in Hawaii, and then she's picked it up here a little bit, but I took her out, and it was too big, and she got rolled, and now she's like done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. You got to get past that fear. Like I scorpioned once and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that again.
Yeah. All it takes is once. Usually, and it's like game over for people. So.
Yeah. So you got past that fear. Well, cause you were still young, junior high. I mean, you're invincible back then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I surfed a bunch since junior high and competed and everything into high school. I actually got sick surfing down in Mexico when I was in high school, and I missed out a year. High school, it was like a stomach virus, but it was almost like a mono, like a kind of like chronic fatigue stuff. And I missed a year of high school, and then I went back, and then I was behind, and so I ended up going to like a different like North Coast kind of homeschool, but I was taking surf and skate PE at San Diego Academy, and then I actually tested out of high school, so I didn't graduate high school.
Really?
I don't even have. Everyone's like, oh, you got a diploma. I'm like, no. I was a junior, and I got my high school proficiency exam. I remember going to the testing thing, and it was like, I'm like, cool, you can test out of it. And I studied like super hard because I'm like, oh, I'm going to get out of it. I started taking classes at Maricosa. So I'm like, why am I still taking classes? Why am I still in high school? It was a weird like homeschool hybrid thing going on. But I remember going to the testing center, and there was like, I look over at the guy next to me, and he's filling out like, the little Scantron with like the bubbles. He's got like a full pot leaf going with the bubbles, and I'm like, oh my God.
I could be better than that guy.
And I passed it. I don't know what I got on it because they didn't give you your final, but
it's like pass or fail.
Yeah, it was like a like real estate.
That's crazy that an illness wiped you out for a full year.
Yeah, it was tough. It definitely shook me a little bit. And then it was like being sick for that long. Anxiety, kind of depression crept in, and I didn't know what it was at that time because I was like, I just want to surf, but like. Eventually enough doctors like, okay, you need to get some help in that department too.
Really?
A chronic illness for that long, I mean, your mind starts to go.
Yeah.
So like what you and I just dealt with actually with the sinus infection thing.
Yeah.
Were you bedridden the whole time?
I wasn't bedridden, but I didn't surf for a year. I didn't do like normal exercises. Like I was super sensitive to light. It was weird. I had a couple friends that would come over and visit me. I'd like, skate around the house a little bit, but I'd get really tired. And I still had stomach issues going on. So like I went through every doctor. They're like, everyone's like, oh, it's a viral infection. I finally had a scope down there, and they found an ulcer, and they said there was like a high eosinophil count and a high viral count or something, which can mean parasite or virus. And they tested for every parasite possible. And they kind of concluded like, hey, we think it's a virus, but it hasn't killed you yet. It's probably just going to like take some time. And I'm like, cool.
Now, what were the symptoms? Was it like did you feel like you had a cold or a flu or like?
No, it was like weakness. I was really kind of like foggy, like spaced out. When you have like bad flu and you're just kind of like space cadet, like my mind was there for a long time, and that was tough to kind of snap out of that.
That does kind of sound like mono.
Yeah, it was almost that's kind of what they compared it to, but I had stomach symptoms to go along with it. But then it definitely did lead into that kind of fight or flight, depression, anxiety stuff. And so I kind of got exposed to that part early on and got on some medication.
That was like you were probably what, 14, 15?
15, 16, yeah.
Dang.
So that was tough. And then I saw all my buddies that I surfed against and competed that were like that much better now.
Yeah.
I kind of caught up to them eventually, but then a lot of them went like the pro surfing QS, or CT route.
Yeah.
Sorry, QS route. And my parents were like, hey, we'll pay for you to go to college. And I was like, okay, well, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, because even those guys like didn't make it. Like, it's top of the top that even can have a chance of making a living off that.
Yeah, it's probably one of the toughest sports, right?
Yeah, and now there's no money in the sport at all anymore. Even extreme sports, I mean, there's nothing. All the big corporations took over, and they're like, oh, this isn't profitable. I can pay a guy on Instagram or TikTok like a fraction of this cost, and you'll get way more sales out of it.
Well, and if you're thinking about it, like how many pro surfers do you know that are very active in the league versus like a football team? Right, like we all know how competitive football is, but there's 32 teams. There's how many players on each team, so there's that much more possibility.
Yeah, there's so many more leagues now.
Right.
I just saw on your Instagram like the G League's coming. Like same with basketball, G League's coming to
NBA.
NBA.
Yeah.
Like they're making so many leagues there, these professional leagues.
I know. I joked. I was like, should I try out? Because that was my first sport before anything. And
really?
My sister told me I needed to stop it if I wanted to be cool.
Stop surfing?
No, basketball.
Oh, basketball, yeah.
That was my sport. And she's like, if you don't want to get beat up, you need to start surfing or skating. And so
well, you're tall.
You couldn't do both?
No, but I wasn't even that tall then. And I grew like 8 inches, and I'm like the worst thing for a surfer. And I'm like, I should have stuck with basketball.
Dude, that's crazy. Right. That's
it's like go the route. I mean, most surfers are my height. I'm 5'8", 5'9". Most surfers are pretty short.
Yeah. Now it's kind of changed
5'8", 5'9". On a good day.
No, don't mess with my height.
I won't. So no high school diploma.
No high school diploma.
So how did you get like from there to going to SDSU?
So I was taking classes at Miracosta at the same time, and I'm like, it was kind of more one of those things like, why am I even trying to finish up high school if I'm already taking some college classes? And so I just tested out of it. But it is funny because it's like any job interview I've ever had, they're like, high school diploma? I'm like, nope. I'm like, here's a college degree.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
Yeah. And so I leave that little part blank too, even when it's like high school. I'm like, well, I didn't graduate.
Well, now you're an entrepreneur, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Now I didn't even need to go to school apparently, because half the realtors don't even have a degree in anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's so true. It's weird. Like you don't want.
It's a fallback career for a lot of people, and unfortunately, it's a popularity contest. And people don't know the difference between a good realtor or a bad realtor until they've experienced both.
Yeah.
I mean,
got a question for you then.
Yeah.
You have 2 daughters. Beautiful family, by the way.
Thank you.
And I have this same conversation with my wife, and you can answer this too, Nate, because you have 2 kids too. Would you push them in the path of going to college?
I don't know, honestly.
Right?
I mean, I would encourage them trade school maybe. I mean, even just to learn something, to have that skill set. I don't know. The way college is going these days, it's not to get political, but totally. I don't know the value of a degree, you know?
I think
100%.
it matters. I think so. For me, like say one of my kids was super interested in a certain thing that like you go to school to be a doctor or you go to school to be a lawyer, then all for it.
Yeah.
But
I think the way we do it now, like you get out of high school and kids get thrown in there, they party, they don't know any clue what direction. I think I've seen certain countries where it's like way more specified. You kind of like have that niche and you're like, cool, like push and let's go that direction. Instead, right now, you like all your electives and everything, it's just a broad spectrum, and it's a piece of paper that says, hey, I went through this and proved myself. Like no one even looks at your degree. I'm probably one of the rare people that actually have a business degree with the emphasis in real estate, ended up doing something with my major, but most people like, I majored in poli-sci, I majored in Spanish. I'm like,
and partied for 5 years.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's a college out there is just high school's pretty easy.
Well, what about you? What would you say now?
So my wife is in this industry, same thing, graduated marketing degree, honors, did the whole like business college, sorority or fraternity. I don't know what they call them, the fraternities for the business college, but also in a sorority. I don't know. Had a great time. But she's telling my daughter's 13 now. She's telling my daughter, she's like, you don't need to go to college.
Yeah.
And I got my poor daughter over there like crying. She wants to go to college. She likes school, but
Just
she
be an
wants
influencer.
Yeah, that's it. That's my son wants to be an influencer big time. But yeah, you're right. It's I'm totally up to whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
It's definitely. But saying that, I will lead them. I'll share my experience with them, because my experience was get out of high school. You know, you're scheduled like what, you go 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon every day. So you're already programmed.
Yeah.
Right, to do this schedule. Then you get this whole free range of like, pick your schedule, stack your days, big classes, no attendance. Like,
yeah,
the freedom, if you're not used to that freedom, you go buck wild.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to sleep in, I'm not going to go to class, I'm going to drink a little bit more today, and I'll catch up later.
Yeah.
I think it also matters your network, right? So like both my parents didn't go to college, and they became very successful. I think because of the network of people that they surrounded themselves with. If you didn't go to college and you surround yourself with a bunch of,
Correct, because I heard it on the flip side. Like, I heard someone else speak about college. It's not so much getting your degree; it's where you meet your best friends, where you meet your business partners, your connections, your network. So like that. Like you learn, you get to meet those people.
Yeah, that's one thing I think I'm trying to instill in my daughters. I mean, they're young still, but as they get older, I used to coach the surf teams too for high school for Torrey Pines, La Costa Canyon, and the San Diego Academy. And I'd always try to tell the kids, like, hey, be nice to everyone. Like, this is your team, like, this is your network as you get older and your connections.
Right.
And, like, it's going to carry you so far. Even, like, real estate. Like, I mean, I've sold homes to people that I were, just mutual acquaintances, but I was respectable enough to, stay in touch and befriend kind of. But, yeah, that's going to go take you a lot longer. Just connections are everything in life.
For sure.
Like, especially when it comes to job fronts and stuff. But I don't know. Yeah, like to your point, I think if they have a passion or they have some kind of direction after high school, maybe they're, have a certain talent, or they want to go travel, or they have something they want to, like, Peace Corps. I don't know. Like, I'm all for it. But if if they're just going to college because they're supposed to go to college, like with no sense or direction. Like, I don't know.
Because they've been told to.
Yeah.
And I think society has changed. I think the better way of approaching it is, how about, like, maybe you don't go, maybe you just get some worldly experience. Like, here's
100%.
Here's this much money that I would have spent on your first semester of college. Go take it and go travel.
I remember being at San Diego State, and there was like older men and women in my class, and I'm like, whoa, this is kind of weird. Like, 30-year-olds in my class, and like
we always thought that
they were like getting everything out of it, and like the rest of us were just like, hey, can we just pass the test and like get out of here? And like, is it Friday yet? Where's the next party?
Yeah, you just kind of rolled it off into the same
but that
vibe.
made so much more sense to me. I'm like, like they were coming from careers, and they're coming back to college because they're trying to, like, actually apply that to their certain career.
Right.
And it's like, I'm like, that's how it should be. You should, there should be like a gap or like a 2-year, break after high school. You kind of go get your bearings, get some world experience or whatever it is. And then maybe even start a job or something. Go, oh, cool. Like, this kind of interests me. Like, and then your job or your, maybe it pays for part of your college to go back and go, hey, we like what you're doing, but like, we'll pay for this with the help of mom and dad.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I mean, like, go travel for a year, 2 years, figure yourself out, and then start college and start figuring out, like, okay, do I want to do this? Or maybe they traveled Europe and they saw a specific thing that drove them towards, like, hey, I want to be a lawyer or whatever it is.
Yeah. I think too college is going to look so much different. My kids at a magnet school right now, both of them are up in Oceanside, and it's crazy. Like, they did like a 2033 or whatever year they, get out of high school.
Oh yeah.
Like, what jobs are going to look like. And like 9 out of 10 of them I didn't recognize. It was like AI programmer, like jobs that don't even exist now.
It's crazy.
But like, that's my biggest fear, and not so much a fear, but the biggest change coming is AI and how many jobs it's going to replace, and how in 10 years, by the time they're going to college, it's not going to look anything close to what we're looking at right now.
Right.
Like, there's going to be so many different ways to go, and maybe college, maybe there will be a purpose again for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm nervous for the future as well. I read this book, The Future is Faster Than You Think.
Yeah, my dad told me about that.
Oh my gosh, that book is mind-blowing because of all the different technologies
It's
that are, like,
happening. I mean,
converging right now.
it's already happening. You're seeing it happen. Like even, I mean, graphic designing, like all this stuff where it's like, oh, cool, you can just put a prompt in and that just did your job that took you 4 days. And
Yeah, another 3D printing homes with like a massive 3D printer.
yeah,
Well, I won't lie. Like we cut clips up. Like we've established like AI here. We've used it.
yeah.
Like we cut clips up from this. It's
I think the people
definitely
that can learn to adopt it and integrate it in their career
Right.
will like still have a role, but it's going to replace a lot of people that don't either understand it or just mundane work.
right.
I mean, I don't know, but it's kind of getting scary. Like it's Andrew Yang, that ran 3 years ago or whatever. Like everyone was like, that guy's crazy. There's going to be like a stipend that, the government gives you and you just live off that. But like, it's getting closer and closer to that. We're like, okay, we can, that's the positive outlook on it. Like the utopian, like, oh, cool. Like they're going to do all our hard work and we're going to get back into the arts
Right.
and this and have this freedom and culture and everything. Like that's the best outcome possible. And there's also like a dark, like
Super.
everyone's out of work. We're all scraping and fighting and battling. Like
Yeah.
it's scary. It
No one
makes me
owns
want to
anything, yeah.
literally
Yeah.
like move my family to like North Sentinel Island and like
Yep.
be like, hey, can you please take us in? Like we'll
Yeah, please.
we'll convert to your ways
Right,
and just
yeah.
simplify everything and like cut off all technology. Like,
mean,
I hate it.
This thought just popped in my head. Do you think it's going to replace teachers? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
I would
Oh,
think
it is
teachers,
already.
like it's, where a kid can sit in class, just basically have an AI talking to you, like a virtual AI.
Not even AI.
leading
Like
the-
you can take one teacher and like literally have a camera and they're teaching like 400 classes around the world.
True.
And they're just the robot head like in the Jetsons.
But they don't even need
know.
to be knowledgeable. It doesn't even have to be a person now, because you could prompt a question, you could ask them a question, and your AI will be more knowledgeable than
Yeah.
any teacher that's ever sat in a classroom,
True.
because they're searching so much database. Wow. Yeah.
Well, and then what do you need to learn at that point? So I always say, like, it's almost like technological communism. Like everyone's going to get a stipend. Everyone's like, there's just a tiny minority of people that control all the
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, if you want a new car, well, your neighbor can't afford a new car, so you don't get one.
Yeah.
Like that's the scary part of it.
There's a lot of scary things that come with it. I mean, it's probably the biggest threat, and everyone's just got their head
Yeah.
buried in the sand
Because
they either don't know enough about it or they don't want to
Yeah.
even face that. But I that's my biggest fear for my kids growing up. Not so much are they going to go to college or not. Like, what are they going to do? Like, what? Like,
Right.
is there a role for them in society or?
Well, it's scary because you already have to, as parents too, we always, do you remember sitting at tables when you were younger with your, your girlfriend, your wife, and being like, I'm never getting my kid an iPad or anything like that. Like, that's not going to
And
be
then
my
you
kid.
become a parent.
And then you become a parent, and you get
Yeah.
an iPad. And now you do them a disservice if you're the guy that doesn't or takes it away from them,
Yeah.
because what they're learning on that iPad, I know it's like stupid games, like Roblox is huge and stuff, but like it's a world of imagination, and they,
Oh, my kids
And
have
they're-
learned to read basically on there because I put the subtitles on and everything, and I'm like they're
yeah, and they build stuff. So
Yeah.
they're already like, I remember beating my dad at Mario Brothers. You remember first?
Yeah, yeah.
You're 40, right? Yeah.
40.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah.
Or you'll be 41 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember, you play your dad in Mario, you crush him, and your dad's sitting there like trying to do it all. It's all slow, and you're like, "Give me that remote." Now I feel that way with my kid, but worse,
Yeah.
because it's just games I don't understand, and it's like but they have to be in that mindset. They have to.
Yeah,
do that.
I looked into the Waldorf school, which like was zero technology, and like they don't want you having technology at home. And I was like, this is such a rad school, but
Yeah.
I'm like, no way is that practical. Plus, I feel like your kid's gonna be behind. What
Right.
they learn how to use an iPad at like 13 or something, and
Yeah.
14 or 16, whenever they get out of that school, and it's like, wait a second, now there's a huge learning curve, and they get caught up, and these people, the other ones are already, down
Yeah.
and
I think the two biggest directions if they want to go to school is optometrist, because of all the goggles and stuff that we're
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at, and all the screens. Like, become an optometrist because there's going to be a lot of eye problems, and chiropractor or physical therapy, because have you picked up your kid's backpack?
yeah.
Yeah, with a huge laptop in there and everything. It's like 40 pounds. They're walking around there.
I
Like,
don't believe in chiropractors.
no,
Sorry,
okay.
that's probably,
Sorry, no, you're good.
I shouldn't say that because it's probably, maybe
Hey, the ocean is curing you,
I
right?
so I had a bad back after having my first kid, and I didn't surf for a year and a half. That's when I was coaching surf team too, and they're like, "Why aren't you surfing?" I'm like, "Oh, my back's bad," and I got recommended a book by 3 different dads on my parents and my surf team, and then I also heard about the book on Howard Stern too, and I was like, and the dads, they're kind of like manly men, like, and they're like, "Hey, don't take this the wrong way, like read this book and just like check it out." And I'm like, okay. I'm like, why is everyone saying not to take it the wrong way? Anyway, it was Mind Body Connection, Healing Back Pain by Dr. John Sarno.
Okay.
He's since passed, but the concepts in it were amazing. And anyway, I was seeing a chiropractor, acupuncture, PT, everything. I just signed up for like a $2,000 a month chiropractic thing where I could go like every day.
Yeah.
And basically the book teaches you that as men, well, women too, but like we have a natural tendency to like suppress our emotions and not get them out
Right.
in healthy ways or even unhealthy ways, like you punch someone in the face or you scream or whatever. Like society, like you're not supposed to do that now. So you internalize them, and your mind actually creates like a pain pathway and shuts off oxygen and parts of your body that are susceptible that can trick you easily into thinking you have actual pain. So it creates it shuts off oxygen to your lower back, for my case, and it creates that focus of going, okay, I got back pain, instead of dealing with whatever crazy stress emotion you're going through. And I look back in it and I was like, I read this book, and about 3/4 of the way through, I literally like tears in my eyes. I was at rock bottom, and I was like, this is it for me. Like I have a tendency to do this, even when back to like when I was in high school and I got sick for that long and I kind of anxiety and everything. So I'm like, hey, this is kind of a pattern here, but it made 1,000% sense to me, and I applied it. And one of the first things was like, stop doing any chiropractic, acupuncture, like stop doing all that stuff. Stop telling yourself you have a problem. Right. You do, it's actual real physical pain, but your brain can shut that oxygen off and cause that pain as a distraction. So I looked at what I was going through. One, my first kid was on the way. I was just getting into real estate, just getting my bearings, and I was, not making great money yet. My mom had just got diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma and all this stuff. And I, at the time I just went numb and just went forward and cool. Like that's what it is, but I didn't like give myself time to even process that.
Right.
But what happened, my back went out like horribly. And I know it's like saying, like, everyone's like, oh, you're stressed, your back, whatever. But it's like the techniques you learn in this book, especially telling yourself you can't do things that you normally do. Like for me, I was like, I can't surf at all. Like I can barely get out of a car without my back hurting. But within 2 weeks of reading this book, after a year and a half of back pain, my back got 99% better.
Wow.
I was surfing again. I wasn't paying PT, all this stuff. And I'm not saying chiropractic doesn't have a place or acupuncture. I think those do. But one of the biggest takeaways from it was everyone's like, hey, you went to the chiropractor, they give you an x-ray and it shows that you have a bulged disc, or it shows that you have something. Like they did a study and they scanned like 2,000 people on the street with 0 back pain, and their abnormalities in their back were just as consistent, if not worse, than people that come in with chronic back pain. So it's saying that has no correlation to back pain. Like you, as a human, your body has a natural tendency to heal. Like you break your arm, it heals in like 6 weeks or whatever, and you get back. Like your body should be healing any ailment it has. Right. But why do you still have chronic pain or chronic fatigue or these chronic symptoms? You shouldn't have that, but you get stuck in this process, and it's sorry.
You're okay.
It's a distraction for your mind. Anyway, it was one of those things, those books I read, and I've since recommended it to a few people. But
what's the book?
The Healing Back Pain by Dr. John Sarno, The Mind Body Connection. And there's since been a few others that have come out, and there's like a following of doctors that now kind of go into that realm. But it was one of those like, boom, like just opened up my mind, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy how much your mind affects and controls your body.
Yeah.
Like it's not separate. And
100%.
to physical pain, ailments, chronic illness,
Yeah.
cancers, like all this stuff. Like your brain has the power to heal that stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, placebo and nocebo.
Yeah, you
effect.
look at that stuff too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
studies where someone like, that
Heals
has cancer,
himself,
and
yeah.
they're like, oh, we have a pill that cures that. You take the pill, they're cured of it, and then 2 years later they go, oh, actually that pill didn't work. Their cancer comes back right away. It's like it's just mind.
Yeah.
Power your mind.
No, that's incredible. Because I'm glad you're here today, because I need to hear that, because I'm on this healing journey right now. I did the I did the chiropractor thing. It was great, like it is. It relieves your pain pretty quick, because again, you're like, you hear the crack, and you're like, oh, I'm healed.
Yep.
And then you keep going back, you go back, and so that's kind of what you get caught up in. Then I just, and it sucks because it costs so much to do stuff like wellness for yourself. And as parents, as dads and stuff like that, you're like, it's the last thing you want to pay for.
Yeah.
To take care of yourself. You think of others first. You have your family. You think of your
100%.
career. Like everybody else, you take care of. You're the last person. So I got to the point where I'm like, I'm in so much pain. I can't anymore. I started doing this acupuncture. But the nice part about this acupuncturist is that it's almost like therapy.
Yeah.
She talks to me more than just goes and says, all right, lay down. Where's the pain at?
That's where I think some of the placebo effect comes from. But it's like if you like even massage, like you get relaxed enough that you're in that meditative state, and that's healing you. But the real core of the issue is mental. Right.
And she's already, when she talks to me, she's already kind of talking to me and getting to the root of what is causing this. And acupuncture and stuff moves stuff around where I am like going back to my childhood.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's a generation of being like manly men. Don't cry. Don't express your feelings. Be a rock for everybody else. Like, when do you get a chance to
100%.
And as a young age, you're dealing with your mom, your family, and everything like that. And it's like,
my mom beat
I gotta be strong.
stage 4, by the way.
Oh, right on.
Pretty
I wasn't gonna ask, but that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah. I will say, I go to a chiropractor not regularly, just if I have something going on. In Encinitas, it's Cap Wellness, and they don't adjust you. It's the weirdest thing, and it probably goes to what you're saying, because he works with the myofascial tissue rather than go deeper than that to like your skeletal.
Yeah.
Obviously,
a lot of it is blood flow. Like the key is getting oxygen to that area, because oxygen in blood is blood essentially heals that. So some of those things do have like a temporary effect, but to cause that to not turn off, because your brain has, a lot of these are from old injuries too, because your brain has that pain pathway already created. So what's the easiest way to trick yourself through your brain to cause a distraction? Find that old pain pathway and cut off oxygen, go, oh, my back again. But then you actually think about it, and I've had a couple of flare-ups since this was 8-9 years ago. But instead of going, oh no, my back's going to seize up, I'm going to be out for 2-3 weeks, I go, what's going on? What am I not dealing with? And I usually can pinpoint it on something where I'm like, oh, this just happened, or there's some drama going on here. I'm like, I need to think about that. And one of the ways to do it and just get it out of your subconscious, which is, we don't really have access to that, but just journaling.
Gotcha.
Journaling and writing down kind of what you think, and then it somehow naturally releases that, hey, it's on paper now, I got it out of there.
Yeah.
And it does help that process. Or obviously I've never really done therapy or anything, but
no, but you're mindful of it now. Like whatever just that book opened your mind to being aware in the signs of, same thing here. It's like, if I know I have a fight with my wife or something, or if she's asking me something and I got work and all this.
You fight with your wife?
Yeah, all the time.
This is his therapy.
This is my therapy. But instantly, if we have something going on in our lives, and if scheduling problems is mainly the biggest.
Yeah.
Can you do this? And I'm like, I'm at work. She's more, as a real estate agent, you're a little bit more flexible. You're still working on your business, but me, I'm here. I'm not a 9 to 5, but so what will happen is I will instantly get this knot in here, and I'm like, oh man, what is going on? And I'm like, it's because of this. It triggers it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I can deal with that and talk to her about hey, this is, it goes away. It's the craziest thing.
A lot of people read this book though, and they're not at rock bottom yet. They're like, oh, I kind of believe it, but I'm still going to do this. It's you have to go 1,000% into it. And that's where I was. I was exhausted everything possible. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I can't even surf anymore. I'm like, just stressed to the nines. And I was like, this is it. And the fact that the 3 dads that recommended it, that were on my surf team, or parents of the surf team, they were like burly, like, masculine men. And they're like, don't take it the wrong way. And I'm like, because no one wants to hear, oh, it's all in your head.
Right.
And then that same week I heard it on I heard Howard Stern talking about Dr. John Sarno and how he saved like his back. And then I was like, wait, maybe this is a sign. I read it, and it was one of those like it just released like halfway through. I'm like, I know this is going to work, and it did. It was amazing. There's like, I think Pain Cure Clinic is a website you can go on to, and it has like a full process to like walk you through that if that book isn't enough.
Right.
And now there's so many other books. The Great Pain Deception. There's even like a super old 2020 episode. If you Google 2020 Dr. John Sarno, and there's like 3 case studies, and it's like, I don't even know, it's from like the 90s or 80s or something, but it's like 3 case studies. Like one lady could barely walk, another's back, and even the guy that interviews himself takes it through this process and like cures them, and it's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Pretty
I don't want to go too deep into this, but what do you think about like, and I've been thinking about this more often, is how everyone here pays for insurance, right? You pay for health insurance?
Unfortunately.
Sort of.
Sort of. I mean,
I have like a, yeah.
But let's just say most Americans pay on average. You're either if it's coming out of your paycheck or you're paying $1,500 for your family. It's a nightmare, right? None of it is preventative.
Yeah.
It's all worst case scenario stuff. And so why isn't any of that like being put out there?
Yeah.
They're starting to talk about depression, but other than that, they're not telling you like, hey, we can.
Dr. Sarno was a doctor in a huge like medical building, and and there's no money in that. That's why it's like basically a free treatment. And you go, okay, cool. You're going to put out all these other doctors, and he's like, I don't even blame the doctors because this is what they're trained in. They're trained. Right. He's like, the MRI is one of the worst things that ever come out because you scan everyone's body, you're going to find abnormalities, whether it's in your back or other parts of your body.
Yeah, little cysts grow everywhere.
He's like, and it's just something for them to pinpoint and go, oh, this is what's wrong. You need a medicine. You need this. But he's like, that's like his example. You can scan 2,000 random people that have 0 issues, 0 chronic illnesses or whatever, and you're going to find abnormalities in them too. Yeah. It's like, that was one of the worst inventions. Obviously it did have some purpose and, certain tumors and stuff, but for the most part, it just gave like a excuse to be like, oh, we found it, take this medicine.
Yep.
And then once they say they found it, then in your mind, you're like, they found something.
I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I need this to live.
Mm-hmm. But it's just like any, there's probably a cure for the common cold right now. And it's like, well, they'd never tell you what it is because there's too much money in it.
Yeah,
it's pharmaceutical
in drugs in town. Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
So that's why you don't hear that stuff.
There's a cure.
100% a cure for baldness.
Oh,
you take a pill, your hair grows.
My sister's boyfriend right before COVID happened, like sent me an article, and he was like, look at this, and I was like, oh my god, dude, I'm gonna be able to take a pill, like, and it's gonna grow back, and then COVID happened, and I'm like, damn it. I'm like, I pulled all the scientists off and focused it on COVID when the real problem.
Right, the real problem is the hair. Let's cure the baldness.
Man, I'm so far
pandemic
gone
out there.
I don't even know what I would do if I grew my hair back.
My wife's told me, like, sent me stuff in Turkey, and she's like, look it, and I'm like,
no, dude, you guys are both good looking. I was about to say, like, you North County guys, the blue eyes and the bald head, dude, you guys are pulling it off.
It's the Viking.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I don't know where this podcast is going, which I actually love right now. But we'll get back on track. I just want to ask you so graduating college, I know we got off on a big tangent about everything else.
That was a weird one.
Yeah, I love it.
Great.
Dude, I love it. This is the best. But why real estate? Why I know your family's in it. Your dad is in, commercial. But
residential. He's
residential. Okay.
Mostly residential.
Yeah. Did you look up to that? Did you be like, oh, that's cool?
Not really.
Everybody has that moment of like...
He would work, late hours, and like, I mean, he supported our family. He's an awesome person. It wasn't like something I was like, oh, I can't wait to get into that. Like like he worked his butt off, you know? I actually majored starting out in marine biology. That was my initial thing. And then I like kind of looked into it. I'm like, there's 0 money in this. I'm like, if I'm going to have a family one day, like, I had a really cool teacher though at Miracosta, and he had like a facility down in the Gulf of Mexico, and he's like, hey, if you want to come down after you graduate, and that would have been a cool path too. But I was more focused like on, okay, how am I going to actually make money
and stay living in California?
Yeah, and so I graduated.
That's a big thing.
Yeah,
right.
Well, yeah. Funny thing enough, after I graduated San Diego State, I moved up to Reno, Nevada, because my dad was developing houses up there, and he was living up there. He still has a second home down here. But I was like, cool, I'll check out that kind of job market, and he made a couple introductions for me, and I ended up joining a commercial real estate firm up there and doing commercial land sales. That was right in 2007, 2008. So I had like a partner up there that was a senior. We had a bunch of listings, but nothing was selling, and the market just tanked off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I lasted a year and a half up there. And I was like, I can be in Reno, Nevada, not making any money, or I can be back in San Diego, not making any money. And so I kind of pulled out of there. My dad was kind of bummed because I just kind of threw in the towel. And then I came back down here, and I was like, okay, you know, I should probably get back into real estate, but I didn't even know what direction to turn. I ended up traveling a lot, and my parents kind of disowned me for 6 months because they're like, hey, we helped you out with college, and now you're back teaching surf lessons. And I started a paddleboard lesson company up in Carlsbad, and I was teaching stand-up paddleboard lessons in the lagoon and the ocean.
Did it make you happy?
Yeah, but it was just like an interim. It wasn't like something I saw like long-term. I wanted to kind of blow up the business, but I had a partner that was more worried about liability and like didn't want to expand. Like, we have to be the only teachers. And I was like, okay, this $20,000 a year I'm earning is never going to like, you know, that's never going to be the thing.
Yeah.
And I ended up traveling and sleeping on my buddy's couch down in PB, and he's like, hey, I'm going to Indo. And we're like, cool, let's go. And I remember my parents were so pissed. Like, they're like, you're just taking off traveling, and like, we helped you out. And like, I remember I have a family psychologist buddy that our whole family's been friends with because our family's crazy like everyone else's. And I remember calling him, and I'm like, my mom and dad won't talk to me because I told them I'm going to Indonesia for 3 months, and like, I don't know if I should go because they literally are like disowning me. And he goes, Ryan, I've got, you know, a successful practice. I think he lives in like Del Mar, Carmel Valley. You know, I've got 3 kids. I make a shit ton of money. He goes, you know when I was happiest? He's like, right after college, and I didn't have a penny to my name, and I was sleeping on all my buddies' couches with not a care in the world and no debt. And he's like, go. He's like, don't tell your parents I said that, but just go. And I was
true.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I went, and eventually they came around. But it was like life-changing. Like, I look back on that, and yeah, if I got into real estate back then, I would have been much farther ahead. I probably would have bought a house sooner. And you know,
what year was this?
This would have been like 2010, I want to say, maybe.
Oh, so coming out of the recession.
Yeah. I mean, we were still in there. Maybe 2009. It was still, I hadn't even bottomed out yet. I mean, I don't think we really bottomed out to 2012, but it was bad.
But going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's like if you would have just traveled before college.
Yeah.
You know?
True. Yeah.
You gotta get those life experiences.
I could have traveled first and then go back to college. But I did travel. I ended up traveling. I went to Indo for like 7 years in a row and spent, 2 or 3 months there.
Yeah.
And that was insane. I won't regret that ever.
By yourself?
No buddies half the time, but the best trips I had were ones by myself.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to backtrack a little bit. You obviously said you got your degree in business with a focus on real estate.
Yep.
What made you go and get that degree? Was it kind of like you saw yourself going that route? Because I know so many real estate agents that, they're currently working at a restaurant, and they're just like, oh, I'm going to get my real estate license because I want to be able to control my hours. And I'm like,
yeah, that's
are you sure?
Funniest.
Isn't that the misconception of real estate?
I mean, I
right?
surf a lot, like 3 times a week still, and I'd still get people that are like, I want to do what you do. Like, you get to surf when you want. I'm like, you don't see what I do when I'm not surfing, or you didn't see like the 3 years where I didn't even surf because I was in the office every day grinding.
Right.
But
it's a 24/7 schedule.
But I'm like, by all means, like, get it.
Well, we just talked about you're answering your phone. You're answering your watch while you're surfing too.
Yeah.
You're trying to.
Yeah, I think it's It's tough. I mean, I think I hold a record for a number of clients and friends that have gotten their license because of me.
Yeah.
They're probably like, if this idiot can do it.
So back to it.
What
do you
they've
think?
also probably all, like 90% of them dropped out because they're like, shit.
Yeah, they
You would
realize
actually
like,
work.
yeah, you work.
Yeah.
It's not all fun and games.
So was it your folks that kind of, you saw what your dad did and you're like, oh, I'm going to get into real estate? Or
I saw some opportunity there, but I never really, that was never a promise or anything to like, hey, come work for me. I mean, I think he went down from like 300 something employees down to like 12 during that time too. So like, yeah, it was tough. So I didn't do it for that purpose. I just knew he had some connections in there, and I was kind of like, hey, there's some, I was business management, with an emphasis in real estate. So I just kind of was like, oh, cool, this, I'll learn this. And most of the classes they teach you are all commercial based. You're actually like running spreadsheets, cap rate, you're doing all these projections.
In class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I fell into commercial. And I still kind of have regrets for not staying in commercial, just because I feel like when I got back into San Diego, I was like, okay, should I get back into commercial or residential? And I needed a paycheck sooner. I wanted to, build that business quicker, where I was like, okay, if I had commercial, it's probably going to take me 3 to 5 years to really get into it.
Right.
Where residential, I can probably get going in a year if I grind out. But I do, even looking back on it now, it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, there's so much emotion involved in residential. I mean, I deal with so much drama. Like I'm a divorce
Share.
I'm a divorce specialist. I'm
yeah.
I'm like,
of course.
You wear all this hats and you're holding everyone's hands, and it's like you can all day long, hey, this is the best business decision ever, and the wife comes along, it's like, I don't like the paint in here, that's not make an offer, and I'm like, okay. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, you wear a lot of hats. For
No,
sure.
yeah, you have
Whereas
to have
commercial,
thick skin, and yeah.
Yeah, I even introduced someone for like a deal in the Polo Plaza in Del Mar the other day, and it was rad, just sitting in the conversation as like a third wheel, and I'm like, they're like, oh, what are the rent rolls and projections and stuff, and I'm like, and it's just so cut and dry. You're like, hey, this makes sense. Let me run my numbers. Cool, let's do it. Whereas residential, there's just way more emotion. And I get it because,
Right.
I mean, it's your primary residence. You're living there. Everyone, has input onto it. But, yeah, I feel like there's way more value add in commercial.
Right.
But I've tried to bring that into residential too when I transitioned into that. Like when, for example, half my listings I get, most of my business is based on referrals now, like friends or family, past clients that are referring me to someone else. And it's like, I've built this kind of cool network.
Do you find that since you've been in the industry long enough now, that's why a lot of your business is coming from referrals?
Long enough. And I kind of built it the right way. Like I've tried to do people right and steer them in the right direction, and talk them. I'd probably talk people out of buying a house more than I do into. And so when you do the right thing up front, yeah, you're not going to be burning and turning and getting that huge volume of business in the beginning, but you'll retain that business and it'll grow slowly. But in the long run, you're going to, have a successful business because you warned everyone about anything that could potentially go wrong. The market may correct. This may happen. You put all those things. So people, hey, guess what? This happened. But you told me about it. I knew the risk going in, and now I need you to help me sell it.
Yeah.
Whereas
It's
someone
like
else,
you're a real estate advisor, not a real estate agent.
yeah, I was listening to like Ricky Carruth, and I'm not a huge fan of that guy, but it was funny because he was like doing a podcast for like an entire brokerage, and the lady was like, hey, how do you handle objections and what people don't want to sell right now or they don't want to buy because of the market? And he's like, I don't. He's like, it doesn't make sense to them. I don't talk them into doing it. He's like, I move on to the next person that has the money to buy right now and wants to buy and is motivated. But he's like, you should never, convince someone to buy if they're not financially able to, or convince someone to sell if it doesn't make sense for them.
Right.
Like that's not our job.
Yeah.
And the lady was kind of taken back, and I'm like, that's 1,000% true. Like I've talked myself out of sales constantly. Someone like, hey, I'm buying this new home, introduction is made. I'm like, great. I'm like, where do you live right now? Yeah, this place, I'm going to sell it. I'm like, do you need to sell it, or can you hold that?
Right.
Can you rent it out, and can you use some of that income to qualify for your purchase? Because in 10 years, you're going to be sitting on a cash cow,
Building wealth. Yeah.
And they're like, some of those times they'd run the numbers like, hey, it's going to be a squeeze, but I'm going to do it. like I just talked myself out of sale right there, like because
Right.
I could have sold their place, but
Yeah.
in the long run, no, you know. And then they'll come back 10 years later and be like, "Thank you, I'm retiring now. I own 3 properties. I didn't sell any of them because you told me not to, and
Right.
you know, here's 5 friends that I want, you know,
Yeah.
want to work with you because you steered me the right way."
That's huge.
So that's, yeah, that's kind of how I built it. And that's how, you know, one thing I've learned from my dad, like everyone I talk to knows my dad in development. They're like, he's such a great guy, whatever. And it's like, it's one of those things, you just be honest with people and treat them like you would, like your best friend or your family.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a business to, I always laugh at all like here, read the Tom Ferry objection handlers. And I'm like, what is this crap?
Well, we started
If
this
he
podcast.
says this, you say that. One of my first partners, like I went to a listing appointment with him, and it was my referral, like it was my listing appointment, but he came along because he was the coach and my mentor, and he was, you know, my senior. And they're like, "Hey, could you do this, a little discount? He was like maybe 2.25 on your side instead of 2.5. And he goes, "Well, if I drop my commission, what's that say about my negotiating skills when it comes to, you know, listing your home and getting offers? You know, I can't do that up front because it's going to make me look weak." And it was like a straight, I mean, it was more polished than that, but it was a straight objection line. And the guy just looks at him and was like, "Pfft," and like looks over at me and is like, "Ryan, what's your opinion?" And I'm kind of like, I'm like, "Yeah, we can give you a 1/4 point discount, especially because you're buying with us." Like kind of looking over at my buddy, and I'm like, "Spare me," you know?
Yeah.
And I left him not long after that because I'm like, that's not my style.
Right.
It just irked me.
Yeah. I would also say, you know, you were saying that commercial, you liked the numbers and all that, but do you find that when you do close a deal with someone that's within your sphere and there was a bunch of emotions involved with it, that there's so much more value that you gain from helping them out as opposed to, you know, numbers made sense and a transaction closed in commercial and it's like, you get a thumbs up.
Not really.
Like,
I love that you're honest about it.
I don't get too caught up in that.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I'm happy for them too, like for sure. Like, but it's not like it's super. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's most reward." Like realtors are always like, "Oh, I'm pat myself in the back." You know, I'm making dreams come true. I'm like, dude, spare me. You wouldn't be doing this if you weren't getting paid. Like, do a good job and get the result that they want. But like, feeling good about yourself because you're saving, you know, like, no, dude, no, you're not.
Dude, I love this guy.
You're a real estate
Yeah,
agent.
yeah.
Like, come on. There's
Okay.
Good job.
I got a great question though, because so you're a rare breed. You work with your wife, right? She's got her.
kinda.
Okay.
She's way better looking than me,
Oh, okay.
and she got her license to kind of assist me on the side.
Okay.
She's got her pass, and she's a whatchamacallit?
Flight attendant.
No,
I just was running with it. You said passenger. My mind
no,
went.
she's a face
Esthetician.
esthetician.
Yeah.
God, she's gonna kill me.
Where'd you get the flight
I don't know.
attendant?
No, I
I
think it
don't
was a miss pickup in the mic.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
speech impediment.
Yeah, that's
People
okay.
always ask me if I'm from San Diego. Like, are you from Australia or South Africa? I'm like, no, my tongue gets caught up, and
Yeah.
I
Okay,
sound-
so she doesn't do it full time.
So that's her passion is more skin and that stuff. But no, she proved herself, got her license, and does help me on the side.
Yeah.
And she's way better looking, so I put her on all my marketing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and she's.
But
yeah.
if someone wants her to be involved, like, hey,
Yeah.
be involved.
I was gonna ask if she's more emotional. That was the question because I noticed that. Does she get emotional? Is she excited for them more than you are?
No, she's pretty even keel too.
Yeah.
She's so personable too. Like she's got millions of friends and stuff that look up for her. So she's helped bring people in, and then I kind of take the reins from there.
Yeah.
But no, she'll be involved if she needs to.
That's cool.
But she's also working 2 days a week for a plastic surgeon's office, and she loves that
Yeah.
too. She's super like health conscious. So yeah,
Well,
it's
you
kind of
both
cool to
are.
have different passions.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more. I want to know. You're in real estate. What's this crypto certification?
It was a company called Proppy actually, and they're kind of leading the charge on crypto transactions for real estate.
Yeah.
They kind of, I think they have their own little like escrow niche for that. But New Venture, you guys do some of that too, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can
Well, we
close.
started when it was big, and then
It was like, it looked like it was going full steam. So I'm like,
100%.
hey, like this is a cool niche. I want to get ahead of it. So I got
Yeah.
like certified in crypto transactions. I saw like the opportunity there. I mean, everyone that wants to make a case against crypto, I get that, like, oh, there's no value, it's funny money, all this stuff, but like you can't argue against blockchain and the technology behind it. Like there's so many use cases for that. And I think real estate is one of them. I think you're going to be able to eventually record, title on the blockchain, where maybe there's not going to be a title company, as much of a need for that. With smart contracts, you can program them like an escrow company would to like have certain steps, and it doesn't transfer ownership until each step is achieved.
Yeah.
And this is way more concrete, and it's like open to everyone. Everyone's like, oh, it's secretive. And I'm like, no, like that's the whole point of crypto. It's like once it's recorded on the blockchain, everyone can see it, and there's no arguing against that. And you'll be able to like load. Sorry,
you're okay, man.
You're going to be able to load like complete smart contracts behind a cryptocurrency with like the entire portfolio of a listing and like all the past inspections, disclosures, everything in there. And someone's going to be able to look at that, open it up and go, okay, this is what I want. Let's buy it. And it should be able to trade hands a lot quicker and more secure and efficiently than how we do real estate right now. I was reading something that was like, remember when prior to the MLS or prior to the, website internet technology, that was like everyone had these books.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we're going on the internet now and we're going to have this MLS and do this. And everyone's like, that's never going to go anywhere. And then like, you can't imagine doing it the old way now. And I think in like 10, 15 years, maybe, I don't know when it'll get adopted, but that's how much it makes sense to go this other direction with blockchain for real estate. And you're going to be able to be trading hands in and out of, transactions, homes, properties and stuff like, within days instead of like, 30-day escrow, we got to do all this stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we at New Venture Escrow, we're so forward-looking. We identified that that's one of our big threats is crypto and the smart contracts. Because
it's not a threat, though, if you adopt it. Like, you just need to be
That's where,
yeah.
That's where I'm going. So, right, it's like you have these, you could basically have all these things that are in place where these line items need to be met before the file is dispersed.
Exactly.
And that can all happen within a smart contract on the blockchain until funds are transferred. What I've realized with the whole crypto thing is a lot of people think that they can purchase a home using crypto by not having to sell their crypto, like just like moving that asset into real estate or trading it up.
It takes a willing buyer and a willing seller.
Right.
And it has happened before, but for the most part, you're still converting crypto right before
into dollars.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then have to pay the capital. People don't understand they have to pay capital gains on their gains. And so that's what I've identified, that a lot of people that are buying.
Yeah, there's a misconception there.
Right.
People are like, oh, I can like avert taxes somehow. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
it's not. That's not the point of crypto.
Right.
Yeah. None of
But
us
no,
wanna
I
go to
think
jail.
the smart contracts is like that direction I've tried to explain to people. And like, it's only a matter of time. And it's probably going to be just a major company that adopts it. And then everyone else is going to follow. But right now there's so much resistance because it's like, it would put people out of work and it would change up the game immensely.
I wonder if a bank, like, so we work through our bank that holds all the funds, if they would allow, like, if it takes them allowing a transfer of wallet, like of crypto, say Bitcoin, into our bank to then transfer that to the seller that's selling their home, if they're willing to accept it, if that will ever come to fruition.
I think it's coming way sooner than later.
Because then there won't be there's sellable transfer.
It's funny because you look at all like these banks and big corporations and government, and everyone was like, oh, crypto's never going to take off, never going to take off. Like they missed the first initial boom. And so they had to come out with headlines that like, this is never going anywhere. Let's come out with these regulations and scare the crap out of everyone. So it tanked. And now their fingers are all in it,
and they're still telling people.
And now they're starting to pump it up a little bit.
I was gonna say it's coming back, right?
Yeah, because now that we're involved, it's just like anything else with the government,
Right.
Like, oh no, you can't do that. Like marijuana is not legal. Oh wait, let's
regulate
let's
it. Let's make money off of it.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Now
just
we
tax the shit out of it.
Yeah,
And then,
now that we're invested in
Yeah.
it, cool. Yeah, it's legit.
yeah, it's
It's healthy.
well, that's cool. Have you
actually a good
got
thing.
any business? I mean, not so much them doing transactions
I've had
with their Bitcoin, but have they looked into it and then decided, okay, I can't do it that way, and then buy the traditional way?
Yeah, it's
or
more
so?
like a kind of lure to like have that initial conversation. But for the most part, I haven't done any straight transactions that way, but
Right.
it's like, ooh, that's kind of an option. It's getting closer there.
It's getting
They've
closer
done them
for
like
sure.
that property company has.
Yeah.
But it's pretty few and far between right now. But I just wanted to I bought some domains. I like did some research.
Smart.
I had my brother-in-law do a graphic design of like a cool logo. Like I'm like, that's a space that I can see, in the future coming to fruition. I'm like, I just want to be somehow involved in it. I don't even know on what scale.
What are the domains that you bought or started?
CryptoRealtyNetwork.com, crypto real estate. I don't know. Some kind of generic ones.
Yeah, that could be.
That's going to be huge.
I heard that some guy had like purchased this radar.com, and then Radar Magazine was started, and they purchased just
His
radar.com,
domain.
the domain, for like $3 million.
Yeah.
And he started it on like GoDaddy or something.
Yeah, you just need it and then just maintain it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So
that's a business.
I did a bunch of research. I mean, I think it's, for as far as blockchain goes, it's one of the most like promising or useful industries for them to adopt it.
Yeah.
I just think real estate as a whole, it's like turning the Titanic, getting them to anyone to take that initial.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing it forever, and there's
I still don't.
involved.
I mean, there's this whole debacle right now with the buyer's agent's commission and all that stuff, and I just feel like there's still such a need for agents to be in that position and advise people, because you look at a contract and there's so many ways that a buyer or a seller can screw themselves.
Or misinterpret. Yeah.
That's what I try to
misinterpret
tell
it.
people. Like, I've had 3 deals fall apart so far this year, and it's like, we get paid the way we do for the 30 deals that don't happen and all the advising and everything we do. And I'm like, yeah, 2 out of 3 times that deal could go off without any major hurdles. And you're like, oh, did I earn a little bit more money than I should have? Maybe.
Right.
But that, 1 out of 3, when something goes haywire and you're not protected, and you have a bad real estate agent that didn't tell you to, like, you need to disclose that, or you need to do this, or you need to sign that, or look out because they're trying to do this with the contingencies. Like, I'm a stickler on contracts, and they're not that hard to understand. Like, that's, like, if anyone on my team, that's something I want them to understand, like, first and foremost. Like, memorize the contract, understand every aspect of it. And I'm like a mellow surfer, but, like, it's funny because people kind of take advantage sometimes, and I feel like, oh, this guy, whatever, and they try to get away with, like, writing in these ridiculous terms.
And you catch them on it.
And I love it. Like, that's when I'm like, hey, I've been super nice, but, like, no way in hell is that going to fly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what do you mean? That's how it happened. No, it doesn't. Like, I've done thousands of transactions. It's not normal.
Right.
Yeah.
I love, like, pressing it back and, like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, like, my strong point.
Well, I think that's the misconception of people getting into this industry, because I saw your post there. We'll talk about your Instagram here in a minute, but, like, I saw your post about, like, 85% of people leave this industry after 3 years, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think it is because people think, oh, the paychecks, why are they getting paid so much? Oh, I want to go and do that because they get paid so much. But if you really broke down, like, yeah, okay, you get the lump sum, like, all at once, and that's a great. I think real estate agents have that money and they save that money because they know they're unemployed till their next transaction. But if you break that down to the 50 places you traveled, the 50 homes that you showed one person and they didn't buy, the 20 open houses you had, and then the listing agent decided to break the contract and go with someone else, so you don't have, you lose business.
And not even just
sees
that. It's not just hourly. Like, it's more protection. Like, if I wasn't a real estate agent, but I knew what I know now, I would never not use a real estate agent. Like, for one, I feel like just marketing alone and getting that exposure and negotiating, you're going to get that commission plus whatever, back easily by using a professional. And 2, just the risk and the liability. You're in California. Like, this is the most litigious state possible. And, we've had a market that's been, like, slowly appreciating, like, pretty steady since, like, the bottom, 2008 to 12 when it kind of bottomed out. And then it's been, so most agents in this industry have only seen, like, a, slow growth, steady, like, when the market turns, if it ever does, which I don't think it's happening anytime soon, but it will correct eventually. And that's when people go, dude, I'm underwater in my house. I'm going to go sue my moron agent because they advised me wrong and didn't like tell me to get an inspection here, didn't tell me that. Like, that's when people like start suing people.
Yeah.
And if you're not a good agent or you didn't hire a good agent to protect you, you try to fizzboat on your own, yeah, you're opening yourself up for a lawsuit.
Well, let's talk about your social media real quick. We've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. I love it. This goes by so quick.
Yeah, that's great.
So, do you get any referral business, or do you get any business off your Instagram, your Facebook?
I just started kind of really honing in on it.
Yeah.
And I have gotten some. I've had some referrals, some good conversations off of it. I have one video I made about, and it's funny because it's like a controversial topic. How much you need to earn in salary to afford an $850,000 home in San Diego. It was like my first crack at a video, and I had my wife kind of voiceover along with me, and it's up to like 400,000 views now.
Really?
Yeah, it just blew up, went viral, and like half of it's people arguing like, this house is never going to sell. Like, that's overpriced. And I'm like, well, this is one of my listings last year, and I already had multiple offers and it's sold. So I'm not trying to sell that. I was literally just giving a breakdown of where interest rates are at right now, and like backing that into what the bank will allow you to qualify for.
Yeah,
and like the bare minimum. But everyone's pissed about it.
Oh, was that the 850?
Yeah.
How much you would have to? What was it? How much you had to?
How much you need to earn? To afford an $850,000 home.
Smart. It's true. Like, why not?
But people get angry.
If people are battling in your comments, that is great.
They're fully, there's like, it's 50-50 divided. Like I would never live in California. And like, then there's people that are like, well, I moved out of California and I'm in Texas and my property taxes are higher and the cost of living isn't that much better. And I'm in Texas and that was the worst move I've ever made. I'll go back to San Diego and pay what I need to make.
Yeah. Sure. They lost out on how many years they were gone with just staying here. Well, I like the one that you did with what $1 million buys you in different parts of it. Yeah, that's cool.
That's the full series I'm trying to break down. I just started messing with that. I downloaded like CapCut, and like one of my buddies is an agent up in Laguna Beach. Was kind of like, he did a couple of videos, and I'm like, hey. And so we've been kind of putting our brains together and making them. But I am starting to get some traction off that. Like, I've had 2 people ask to get qualified, so I referred them out to lenders. I've had some of my own sphere too, even on there, like, oh, like, great video. My sister's looking like next year, into this year. So yeah, it's starting to.
So it's working.
It's starting to work.
Yeah, and it's hard because we're in our 40s, and it's hard to like adapt.
Yeah,
that kind of technology.
I mean, I regret not doing it sooner.
100%. I think everybody does.
Super like cheesy because I've seen like the TikTok and like all that. I'm like, that's not my style, and I don't want to like reinvent myself because
I'll be authentic.
Yeah,
and you do a great job because you show your family.
Yeah.
And people can relate to that.
Well, I have a business page too that's got like 14,000 followers that my sister set up for me and kind of hacked in a way and got all these followers, and it's legit. It's not like she bought them or anything. But now I'm at like that weird, I'm like, oh, I have a personal one and this. So I've like pretty much left that be. I still advertise, like when I get listings and stuff, I'll still like, push it out on that one and do the full like hyper targeted ads and everything because it's got a huge audience and it helps build on that.
Yeah.
But most of my focus is just my normal one now, and I'm just mixing business and family and everything.
No, it's smart.
Yeah, especially with you where your business is like all referrals and friends and family that are introducing you to other people. On social media, it's your sphere. And so it's like you can show them that you are the expert and you can show your knowledge and be a resource to them. So
I want to do more breakdown, like realistic videos of just like whether it's good for your business or not, just like transparency, because I feel like that's what's lacking. There's so many people that are like, well, why are you saying that? That's going to not get you sales. I'm like, it's just the reality. People appreciate that. Like I want to do a video for breaking down closing costs. Like half the people who don't even know there's closing costs when you buy a home. Like, there's closing costs, and here's how it breaks down. There's prepaids, and there's costs for, financing, and there's, escrow, title fees, everything. I'm like, this is normal, but you need to know about it up front rather than like I did one deal like 5 years ago or something where we get all the way to the finish line, and I'll blame myself too, but I inherited the deal from someone that fired their agent. They had a lender already, and we get all the way to the end, and I'm like, okay, well, escrow's saying you owe 5,000 something in closing costs, and he panicked. No one ever told me about that. I'm like, your lender didn't tell you, like when in the net sheets and all this, like you had to sign this stuff. And I'm like, and that was a lesson to me too. I'm like, okay, I will always tell people, because I don't know who else they're talking to, what their lender's telling them, like, hey, by the way, here's a buyer's net sheet up front. Here's what you're closing. Here's what your costs are going to be. Because I'd rather handle that up front and go, okay, crap, I can't buy, than get down to like the 9th hour. And I ended up kicking in like half that just to help him out, because I felt bad. And I'm like, he's like, I'm never using this lender again. I'm like, yeah, everyone should be transparent, and you should know all this going into it.
Yeah, it's not
and
just
he ended
20%.
up, like, he went back and found something that like he signed that showed that. He's like, it was my mistake for overlooking it. But
Well, most people don't know there's escrow fees too.
yeah, that's what I
Like
mean.
all those extra fees, like no, if you're not educating them right away, and then
Yeah,
or don't go and put a bunch of debt on your credit card right
Yeah.
when you decide to go purchase or
yeah,
after you
buy,
get qualified.
go buy a car.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like nobody knows that stuff.
yeah.
So I got to ask the question though, what's next, Ryan? What's next for you? What's next for the family? What are you getting your hands into?
Yeah, just kind of building my team. I'm at Big Block Realty. I was at, I think it started out of Berkshire, and then I went to Compass, and then, or Sotheby's, and then Compass, and then Independent, and then with another partner of mine, and then back to Big Block. But I have my broker's license, so
Yeah.
I can go independent too, but I kind of like the support over there. I'm going to build a little team, I think.
Nice.
A couple close friends. Nothing too big. I don't want to like scale it up. I want to try to grow my business more vertically than
Right.
Holding everyone's hand.
Yeah.
But these guys would be good support. And take it from there. Yeah, just keep doing social media.
Yeah. I can't wait for your next video.
Get rich in crypto.
Yeah. Get rich in crypto.
Yeah.
You'd be the first person to sell a house with crypto.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
fun.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Will you look in this camera and tell everybody where they can find you?
You can find me online. My new website's coming out, moveinsandiego.com, or you can look me up, Ryan Judson, and 760-809-4723, or email me, ryanjudson1@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.
Nate, it's always a pleasure when you come down here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, all the way from North County. I know you guys got an hour drive back, but thanks again for coming out. Ryan, thanks again for rescheduling with me and actually getting in here.
Of course.
Everybody that wants to find this podcast, we're on social media platform. We are in the full video podcast will be on YouTube, and then all the streaming platforms as well. Go ahead and subscribe so you know when the next episode comes out. But yeah, thanks again, guys.